Harold Gardner describes himself as a simple country fella.
I've done a lot of fishing, a lot of hunting, a lot of work in the field. I went in the Navy in June of '43. Yeah, I sort of enjoyed going up, being sworn in and everything. I was 19 years old the 10th day of June. I went on active duty the 25th day of June.
Were you nervous?
No. I ain't never been nervous. I didn't get excited about nothing, I know of. Or get scared either. Didn't have sense enough to get scared. Went to Camp Perry, and then took my advanced training in Camp Perry, and then come back and down to Gulfport for a while, and then we got our call and to report back in on Monday afternoon. We boarded the train and went to Port Hueneme, California.
America relied heavily on the CBs, the construction battalions, to clear the South Pacific Islands of thick terrain and enemy.
After I got in, I learned more about what was going on down in the Pacific that I didn't know before I went in service. It was a lot of action in the Pacific during World War II. All the way from Pearl Harbor to Australia. I think it was July of '44 when we went to Tinian, and I didn't leave till first part of I say about the first part of October of '45.
Gardner was among the construction crews to build massive runways for the B-29 bombers.
They were some fine boys. Some of the best I've ever seen was in service. I expect there were 10,000 CBs on Tinian when the war was over. We had some of the finest machinery you ever seen building them airfields. Big dozers, drag lines and stuff, and trucks. We had just bukus of trucks. And a lot of time they had to call the Marines out so we could work on them airfields. They call them night fighters. Cause it wasn't no trouble for them Japanese to hide in them cane fields. They was sugar cane all over Tinian. Till we built them airfields, we cleaned a lot of them up.
Each night, the sailors were entertained by a Japanese propaganda radio show, hosted by Tokyo Rose.
We would eat midnight chow. We had out on the airfield. They had field kitchens out there, and we had, when we were working on them airfield, we would eat supper out there on the airfield. And she always come on around 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, and we would be eating. And she had some good music, but by our band, big band, Bing Crosby and all that bunch. I enjoyed listening to her. We all laughed at her. Most of them was married. They were trying to stir them up on what the wives were doing back home. Say they having a good time and all that stuff. And while y'all over on them islands trying to win the war.
He remembers fondly another entertainer, an American named Betty Hutton.
Yeah, I won't never forget Betty Hutton. She was a live spark plug. I thought when she come out there, she was going to tear the stage down.
He'll never forget the time that Tinian was a staging base for launching the first atomic bomb aboard a B-29, the Enola Gay.
I looked at the pit, that #1 pit, where they loaded the first atomic bomb. And then I looked at the airplane when it come back. I don't think they very many people even knew when they were going to load it. It was a military secret. It wasn't nothing said. It took them a few days to make up their mind what day they were going to drop it. And that was all military secret. All we ever know, word got out that they had a bomb that would kill anybody within a mile. And they were going to drop it. And a lot of them predicted when they dropped them, the war was going to be over with. And it was, not very many days, but I'd say about a week before the war was over with. Then they dropped the second one. And that's the one that really done the damage. The second one did kill more people. And then the rest of it history. Because a lot of my friends were just like me. They wanted to get it over with so we could go home. We got my leave on Monday. And they paid us off, and Saturday morning I got home. Old saying is, went to work, went to farming. No, I got home and I got discharged the 4th day of March 1946. Back, I was just as happy as a field lark in a 10-acre pasture. I'm glad I got to serve. I don't regret it. I don't regret a cotton picking thing I done during World War II. In fact, I enjoyed a lot of my friends and stuff. It wasn't bad. Old saying is, I begged him not to go in service.
And why?
But because he just I just got out and me and him was enjoying ourselves. Fishing and hunting and just doing what we wanted to do. But nothing had to do with him. He had to go in service. And I seen him one time after he went in service. That was in June of 1950. And last time I seen him, he got on the train in Brookhaven, Mississippi. Never did see him no more. That was in June of 1950. It was a guy told me that he got shot. He got a piece of shrapnel hit him in the head. But I didn't tell Mama I was told that. Mama and none of the rest of the family. I just kept it all to myself. You the first one I ever said anything about it.
Gardner remains a patriot to this day. He still flies the American flag outside his home.
Josephine Hopkins Kapke truly was a nurse's nurse.
I grew up in Wilson County, Mississippi until I was 8 years old. Then my father moved us to Tallulah, Louisiana. And when the harvesting was over, I decided I had to do something. So I went to the recruiting station. And she told me they was organizing the WAC, Women's Army, Women's Auxiliary Army Corps. And to go to the recruiting station, I almost ran to get there. I was excited. Oh, I was skipping around. Never in my life had I ever dreamed I'd be going to the Army. New Year's Day, I had to catch the train to report to New Orleans to go to camp. So at 9 o'clock that night, you might not want to hear this, but that sergeant, she yelled, "Fall out! Fall out!" At 9 o'clock, I thought, well, we're going to take a shower and go to bed. We got in the barracks, and she yelled, "Fall out!" Oh, stupid country gal told her, "Sergeant, if you don't let up on us, we are going to fall out." And she said to me, "If you don't keep your big mouth shut, I'm going to knock you out." And that was my first day in the Army.
Within weeks, she was ordered to Arkansas. She then became a first cook.
Well, they was sending us all to bakers and cooks school. I got down to the mess hall. Oh, I was so tired. Mess sergeant come in, he give me some pinto beans, a slab of bacon, and a sack of meal, and some vegetables to make a salad out of. He asked us if we any knew how to use a wood stove. That's all I'd ever used, being out of the country. We didn't have electricity. When I told him my dad, he said, "Well, I'm going to appoint you first cook." Well, here comes another cook. "Who's Hopkins?" I said, "I'm Hopkins." She said, "Well, I got to relieve you. You got to go to the hospital. You wouldn't want me to say what I said to her, but I told her I wasn't going. I wasn't sick. I went. She said, "Well, go talk to the sergeant." And I went. I told her, "I'm not sick, I'm not going to the hospital." She said, "Shut up, Hopkins." She said, "You asked for medical course, and that's what you're going to get." That was the happiest day of my life.
After extensive medical training, Josephine, nicknamed Hoppy, arrived at the hospital in Fort Dix, New Jersey. There she encountered soldiers she'll never forget, especially the American prisoners of war who arrived at her ward.
They was been beat, the Japanese, they told me them Japanese would run over them, knock them down, and they went to hell.
She remembers well one former prisoner who refused to eat.
The soldier had a 9-month-old baby, and he wanted to see that baby, and they wouldn't let the baby on the ward. Dr. Swagger, I believe if he could see his baby, he might eat and have some will to live. He said, I think so too, Hopkins. But I have tried to get permission. They wouldn't let children on the ward. And I told him, well, I got a way he can see his baby. The window in the ward was about. I said, if you could tell his wife to bring the baby to the window, I'll shut the door and turn Hudson around so he can see his baby. That's one special moment of my life. I went and closed the door, and he had told her to bring the baby around to the ward and hold it up. And I said, Miss Hudson, look out the window at the sunshine. He looked out the window and he went to crying. He said, oh, if I could only put my hands on him. Up that window come, I reached, I got him, I set him on the bed, but I had the door closed. And he sat there and he played, he smiled, he cried. After so long, I told him that. I said, Mr. Hudson, now this needs to give you an incentive to live. That baby needs you. And he said, I promise you I'll eat. Said, will you bring me some food, I'll eat. In 6 weeks, he was discharged.
Her toughest assignment was to treat prisoners who had survived the Bataan Death March. Thousands of Allied soldiers died in that march.
The last month I was there, they was bringing the Bataan Death Marchers home. And when I went to sign in, the sergeant said he had sent 2 technicians before me and they run them off. I said, well, I don't believe they're going to run me off. I went on the war, poor boys, and they had the urinals calling them, they called them ducks. They called them roasted ducks. They'd take one and they'd throw it down the aisle, and now here comes the roasted duck. And they'd line each other up, and they was really rowdy. So I just went on wading through them. And the sergeant told me to lock the mess hall up. 10 o'clock, they'd go in there and mess it up. And I didn't lock it up. I just looked at him. If I'd have been locked up in a prison camp and hungry and malnutritious for 3 or 4 years, if there's any food around, I would have loved to help myself. But when I come back, oh, they had it messed up. They had cornflakes in the floor with milk on it. Oh, and they had all gone to bed. I really had some good patience at that time. And I just got me a broom and I cleaned it up. And I didn't wake them up. Sergeant come by, he said, Hopkins, did the boys give any trouble? I said, most they didn't give me any trouble. He said, did you lock the kitchen? I said, no, I didn't lock the kitchen. He said, well, you were supposed to, and if they messed it up, call the MPs to make them clean it up. Well, my smart mouth, I said, Sergeant, if you and me would have been where those boys was, and some rookie back here locked in the kitchen up and calling the policemen, we wouldn't take it. I said that would make them worse, but they wasn't making it. They came down and they told me all of their stories. They had scars where the Japanese had put daggers in them. So the night it was over, the evening, bells was ringing, horns was blowing, patients was in the hall, jumping up, clapping, some of them crying, hugging and kissing. It was like a mad place. They grabbed me and just threw me up. And they said I was a good sport. I hope I was. So many broken souls, broken hearts. But I found out what real love was. You loved those people. You loved those boys. You didn't resent having to wait on them on holidays. And soldiers, service people are special to me, because I know what they went through. I saw firsthand.
Miss Josie recently was honored with other World War II veterans during a trip sponsored by the Mississippi Gulf Coast Honor Flight. She traveled to Washington, D.C., and saw the World War II Memorial. And the changing of the guard at Arlington National Cemetery. She was among the veterans given a huge welcome home at the Gulfport Airport in Mississippi. Miss Josie called the experience a dream come true. Throughout her life, she has never lost the love of nursing.
I was doing something by my Lord Jesus Christ. I was taking care of his little sheep he left behind.